All right, today we are going on a search for one of literature's most famous and, honestly, most enigmatic characters, Holly Goldreitly. And to really find her, we have to do something important. We have to forget the movie. We're going straight to the source, Truman Capote's original book, to really understand the real woman behind that legendary black dress.
So this is it. This is the question that kicks the entire story off, the one that haunts our narrator, and us really, from the very first page. Who was this woman, really? And where in the world did she go?
Our whole investigation actually starts years after she's already vanished, and it starts with this really bizarre, fascinating clue. A photographer who knew both the narrator and Holly is in this remote village in Africa, and he finds a wooden carving. The carver says, yes, some young woman on a horse passed through here years ago, and the carving, it's unmistakably Holly. It's the first sign of her in all that time, like a ghost story suddenly becoming real. To figure out where she ended up, we have to go all the way back to how she first appeared. And the narrator's first clue is this little card on her mailbox. It's so perfectly strange, so perfectly Holly. It doesn't say at home or anything normal. It says, traveling. Now, that's not just her status, right? It's a whole statement of purpose. It tells us who she is before we even meet her. She is a person who is always in motion.
And this quote, this gets to the absolute core of Holly's deepest fear. I mean, think about it. She lives out of suitcases, her apartment is barely furnished, and her cat doesn't even have a name. Why? Because to own something, to give something a name, well, that means you belong. And Holly is absolutely terrified of being tied down. For her, Tiffany's isn't just a jewelry store. It's this perfect idea, a place of safety and order that she just can't seem to find anywhere else.
She even has her very own name for her anxiety, this kind of free-floating dread. She calls it the mean reds. It's not just being sad, It's this deep, nameless fear that something awful is about to happen. And the only cure she's found? Hopping in a taxi and going to Tiffany's. It's not about buying diamonds. It's about the quiet, the feeling that nothing truly bad can happen to you in there. It's her personal sanctuary from all the chaos.
So you're probably wondering, how does this girl who's always traveling actually survive in New York City? Well, it is complicated. Men are always giving her $50 for the powder room, another $50 for a cab, and then there's this, $100 a week, every single week. It's delivered by a kind of shady lawyer, all for visiting a mob boss named Sally Tomato in Sing Sing prison to give him the weather report. Yeah.
So just when we think we're starting to get a handle on this strange, charming New York socialite, a man shows up outside her apartment. He's older, he looks like he's from the country, completely out of place. And here's the thing. He knows Holly by a name that nobody in her New York life has ever even heard.
And boom, the whole conflict at the center of her identity is just laid bare. The man's name is Doc Golightly. He's her husband from Texas. And he reveals the truth. The sophisticated Holly Golightly is a complete invention. Her real name is Lula Mae Barnes, a runaway child bride from a tiny town called Tulip. Her entire life is a character she created to escape the one she ran away from. Doc, he paints this picture of a past she worked so hard to erase. He explains that he took in Lula Mae and her brother Fred when they were basically just wild orphans. He married her when she was barely a teenager, and for a little while she seemed happy. But then she started reading all these magazines, and they planted these dreams of a totally different world. So one day, she just started walking, and she never looked back. This is where that deep, compulsive need to run comes from.
And this is how she explains herself. It's how she sees her own nature. She literally thinks of herself as a wild animal that someone tried to tame. It's part excuse, sure, but it's also this tragic belief she has about herself. She truly thinks she is untamable and that anyone who gets close to her is destined to lose her.
Okay, so by the last year of the war, Holly has managed to build this new, very fragile sense of stability for herself. And it's all resting on these three pillars. You've got her brother Fred, who's a soldier overseas. He's her one real emotional connection in the world. Then there's Jose, a Brazilian politician who's offering her marriage and a future. And finally, Sally Tomato, who gives her a weekly income and a strange kind of purpose.
And then, in an instant, her entire world just implodes. A telegram arrives. Fred has been killed in action. She has this violent, grief-stricken breakdown and ends up having a miscarriage, losing the baby she was expecting with Jose. And then, at her absolute lowest point, she gets arrested for being part of Sally Tomato's drug ring. And then, the final blow comes. While she's in the hospital, trying to recover from all this, she gets this letter from Jose. He's worried about the scandal, about how it'll look for his political career. So he just abandons her. It's devastating. It's the ultimate confirmation of her deepest fear.
that she's just too different, too wild for anyone to ever really love and accept.
So faced with testifying against Sally or maybe going to prison, Holly does what Holly does best. She chooses option 3, run. Her plan is so simple, so desperate, it's pure instinct. She has a plane ticket to Brazil, and she is going to use it. Jose or no Jose. She's going to run, just like Lou and my Barnes did all those years ago.
In the taxi, on her way out of town for good, she does one last brutal thing to cut her ties. She tells the driver to pull over, and she puts her cat, her nameless companion, the poor slob without a name, out on the street and just leaves him there. It's this awful symbolic act. She's pushing away the one living thing she's allowed to depend on her.
The second the car starts driving away, she just completely breaks down. The cruelty of what she just did forces this moment of just unbearable clarity. And in that instant, she finally admits the terror that's been driving her entire life. The fear of belonging, the fear of connection, and this horrible realization that she only knows she loves something once she's already thrown it away.
And she makes it. She gets out of the country. The narrator gets one last piece of mail from her, a postcard from Buenos Aires, signed with a lipstick kiss. She says she's with some handsome guy, but she'll send a permanent address later. Of course, she never does. Holly Golightly just vanishes into the world, exactly like she always said she would.
But, the story's really bittersweet ending doesn't even belong to Holly. It belongs to her cat. Weeks later, the narrator finds him. He's sitting happily in the window of a warm, cozy-looking home. He finally belongs somewhere. The very creature she abandoned found the one thing she could never find for herself.
Which leaves us right back where we started, with that one big final question. We know from that carving that she made it to Africa, at least for a little while. But did she ever stop running? Or is she still out there, forever that wild thing, forever traveling toward a sky that just never ends?